If you would not chase a guy, why are you chasing your goals? And if you believe that you attract who you are being, what do you think you're attracting by being so hard on yourself? What's up, little sis? I'm Rima, and you are now tuned in to the Arab and Thriving show. These were some of the questions I had to ask myself very recently because I have always, if I was honest with myself, been kind of a lazy girl, wannabe soft girl, but also a girl who had such high expectations and standards for my life. I am still all of those things, and I feel like the self-development world often makes people like us feel like we can't do all of those things, and so we think we need to throw one of those identities out of the window in order to pursue this life dream that we have. I'm here to tell you that you actually don't. I'm literally living proof. I've stopped chasing after things. I've stopped taking such a hardcore approach to the things that I want, and I have replaced that with a way softer, much smarter approach to life. So I'm giving you 5 of my tested and true soft and smart tips to attracting everything that you desire in life. So let's get right into it. Number 1 is to double down on your inputs and detach from your output. What does that mean? If you are a high achiever, if you're someone with a lot of goals, you probably tend to focus a lot on metrics, goals, numbers, just measures of your success. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not here to tell you to stop looking at those things. What I'm here to tell you is to stop spending energy on the outputs, aka the follower growth, aka the number that you do see on the scale, aka the amount of money that you made month by month. Those things are super important, but I'm here to tell you to stop expending energy on something like that is not necessarily the lever that you can fully control, but it is more so the representation of other levers that you can control, aka your inputs. So if you're someone who has a revenue goal, maybe you're a business owner, your input is not going to be the revenue goal. Your input is going to be the amount of posts that you posted that week to promote your product, or the amount of sales calls you made to your clients. If you're someone who, like me, is on a weight loss journey, your input is not going to be the number that you see on the scale. It's going to be the amount of times that you went to the gym that week, your daily step goal, your calorie allowance, whether or not you're hitting your protein goal every day. In my case, it's so important, and I learned this way too late in the game, to really double down on those inputs. Be unapologetic, be super focused on those inputs, but to really be stoic and detach from the outputs. We're gonna get into why once we hit number 4 and 5, but I just want you right now to focus on doubling down on the thing that is very much so within your control for so many reasons. But the number 1 reason is that it pulls you outside of the victim mindset of being like, ugh, why aren't things changing? And really zones you back into the part that you can actually control. I've been on a weight loss journey on and off for the past several years. And right now, the reason that it's actually working for me is because I'm being unapologetic about the things that I can control every day, instead of having this victim mindset about the scale not looking the way that I want it to or the way that I think it should. This is not a weight loss video at all, but let's also focus on TikTok. I could have been in the victim mindset when I was really focused on growing my page to the point where it's like, why aren't my followers growing? I'm posting so much. Or I could just focus on, have I posted something today? Do I have my posts ready for the rest of the week? It pulls you right out of that victim mindset of constantly feeling like you have a lack, like the things that are in your life are not enough, or you haven't made enough progress towards the goal, and really laser focuses you on the actual things that you are setting out to do. Aside from doubling down on inputs, truly being the way to get your outputs, it also refocuses you from a victim mindset of why isn't this happening for me into a victor mindset of this is what I can control, and I'm going to double down on focusing on that. The results will come. I am not in a rush. This is what I have committed to. Let me focus on that and stop distracting and sabotaging my process by constantly checking the scoreboard. That is something I'm committing to all 2024. I'm not checking the scoreboard. Instead, I'm going to make sure that I practice my jump shot. Instead, I'm going to make sure that I can, focus on my defense. If we're going to use a basketball analogy, I want to focus on what I can do instead of constantly picking my head up and checking the score. Because I'm at a place now where I'm focusing on the process. I'm focusing on my inputs. It has made the process actually so much more fun. I'm no longer wanting this process to be over. I'm no longer feeling this weird urgency or this impatience or this lack, which brings us to number 2. Bring the sexy back to the process. What does that mean? Everyone says, trust the process, trust the process. And I have a whole video actually coming up on trusting the process and what it really means, because I think a lot of us don't get it. I think anyone watching this can think of a time where they were working towards a goal For me, it was trying to get into B school. I was studying for my GMAT every single day. And let me just tell you, there is nothing sexy about studying for a GMAT. But you can always inject the sexiness or the fun or the excitement into a very dull process. So what I did to do that was I did like these long weekend shifts at the coffee shop. It was this really pretty, aesthetically appealing coffee shop. I would literally do like 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. shifts at that coffee shop. I would get my favorite iced latte every time I went. I would get my colored, markers, my highlighters, my notebooks, my flashcards. Like I made it a vibe. If you're not into that, if that doesn't sound sexy to you, then that's not it for you. But maybe for you, your goal has to do with working out. And so you get this really cute matching set of like a yoga pants and top, right? Maybe that's what makes it sexy for you or fun for you, is to look cute every day when you go to the gym. So it's no longer just about the gym, but there's also this like see and be seen element to it. There's nothing wrong with that. If that injects the excitement and the sexiness back into the process, girl, all that means is you're gonna be in the gym for longer. Like we've all been there. And I was single. The gym was just a fun way to, see and be seen, not necessarily talk. Let me not lie. I used to go in the gym and talk. But like when I was really serious about working out, I didn't really like when people came up to me and talked to me. But anyway, my point is that when things start to feel boring, they don't have to be boring for you to be successful. Part of, rejecting this hard discipline and coming back into your soft girl essence is to kind of make things fun while you're doing it, so it doesn't feel like you're working hard, but you will end up working harder because you're not dreading that thing. It's just like soft girl math at this point. Number 3 builds on this, and it's this core belief that I have that you should be swimming with the current. This is something my husband and I talk about a lot because he has this like weird wiring, which is so opposite of me, where he likes to make things sometimes unnecessarily hard. Like I just don't understand that, but I'm not him and I don't need to change him. But he was trying to change me at one point. So one example for me of swimming with the current instead of against the current is having this radical self-awareness where you understand how you operate best. For me, I am truly the essence of not just a morning person, but a daylight person. And what does that mean? That means that my productivity levels are so ridiculously high. And then just miraculously, the second the sun sets, my body feels like it just needs to start shutting down. So it is very challenging, more so like for unnecessarily challenging for me to be productive when the sun goes down. I like to do really hard chores during the day when I still get that motivation from the sun. I rarely ever record after the sun goes down, not just for good lighting purposes, but because I just feel so much more energized and in the mood to talk when the sun is out. And so Ahmed kept being like, don't tell yourself those things. And while I believe in that for so many areas of life, like the limiting beliefs and not telling yourself things and making it true, the other thing is like, it's not like I'm complaining that I don't have enough time in a day. What I'm saying is I have more than enough time in a day. There's just certain times where I don't feel like doing things and certain times where I really do feel like doing things. And so we literally started waking up at 5 or 6 a.m. It's one of the two. Like we don't sleep in anymore. And what I've started doing to rearrange my schedule to swim with the current is sleeping around 9:30. I'm at this point latest I'm in bed by like 9:30. I'm usually asleep before 10, latest 10:30, so that I can wake up by latest 6:30 a.m. Most days 5. And the reason that I've done that and I've restructured that is because it feels more easy for me to sleep early, wake up early, and then extend the window of time where I'm productive. Because from 5 a.m., it's really like from 6 a.m. to like 5:30 p.m. with daylight savings, where it's still light outside and the sun hasn't set yet. And now I have a whole freaking like almost 12-hour period of time where I can be super productive. That way, when 5:30 p.m. hits and I'm feeling like lazy and I don't feel like doing anything, I've already gotten most of the stuff that I need to do done. Maybe the last final task of the day is just like rinsing off the dishes from dinner and putting them in the freaking dishwasher. God sent, by the way, because I never grew up using a dishwasher. Now I'm just like, what was I doing? Anyway, you need a radical sense of self-awareness. You need to first assess yourself, understand like what conditions are most conducive for me operating the way that I want to operate. Do I like to work out in the morning? Do I like to work out right after work? Is it easier for me because I drive to work? This is just an example. For me to hit the gym on the way back home from work? Is it easier for me to pack my gym clothes and put them in my work bag so I don't have an excuse and I can just hit the gym on that drive home? Create no friction or less friction around you doing what you want to do. And that requires just swimming with the current. Let it push you. don't swim against the current. There's really no value in that when it comes to attracting your goals versus chasing them. When it comes to being smarter and softer instead of like just working harder unnecessarily. Number 4, this is my favorite one, so much so that I've done videos just on this topic alone. Create your own certainty. You can choose to be sure that at the end of this journey, if that's even a thing, you are going to be at a certain place. You are going to have attracted certain things. If you're single and you're looking to be in a, lifelong relationship, you can choose to be sure that you're going to find that person one day when it's time. And a lot of people struggle with this because there's so much anxiety coming from like, is this gonna happen for me? Am I gonna get the desire that I want? And everything that you desire desires you right back. Truly, like God doesn't put things on our heart for no reason. If there's something that you feel like you want, if there's a certain career path that you want, if there's a certain goal that you want, that's not there for no reason. That's there as kind of a sign for you to go after that. One of my favorite quotes that my favorite high school teacher, she got me this bookmark. You've heard this for sure before, but this was my first time hearing it. And it's reach for the moon, because even if you don't, I'm gonna botch it, but reach for the moon, because even if you don't get to the moon, you'll land amongst the stars. My meaning of that quote has evolved over time. Some people might read it and be like, okay, but I reached for the moon, I landed in the stars, I guess I should be happy, but it's not the moon. And I just don't see the quote that way anymore. The way that I see that quote is, if you have your desire set on something so great, something so unfathomable, but just you feel it and you want it, that desire and that belief in your ability to get to that thing. Let that thing be symbolized by the moon, right? Your belief that you're gonna make it to the moon. If you just compare person A, person B, both born under the same circumstances with the same opportunity, the only difference is that person A really set their sights on the moon and person B was just looking in front of them, not really like having this goal that created this meaning in their life. I can guarantee you that person A's life is going to be so much more magical, so much more fruitful, so much more meaningful and purposeful, whether they got to the moon or not. And that is the point that I just feel like so much of us are missing when it comes to law of attraction, acting as if. The idea is like, if they didn't get to the moon, it's not because they failed. It's because there was something actually better for them. And the desire to get to the moon was not there just so they can like measure their life against that. No, like that desire is meant to put them on so many different paths and put them on a completely different timeline than the version of themselves who doesn't let that desire kind of color their life. So when I say create your own certainty, what I'm trying to explain is that whether you get there or not matters so much less than the way that your life will be so much more beautiful and meaningful and amazing and aligned because you decided to be sure that that thing was for you. A lot of us, when it comes to dating, we have this picture perfect image of the person we want to be with, that we might pass up the people that we were actually supposed to be with because they don't align with that checklist. And I'm not saying it's not good to have a checklist or standards. I had all of those things. But I think sometimes we need to give God in the universe room to surprise us. And the only way to do that is to believe that you are destined for the great things that you want, but then truly detach because you know that it's there. Detach and let it unfold the way that it's supposed to unfold. The only way you're gonna feel trusting and faithful enough to let things unfold the way that they're supposed to unfold is if you believe you're already on your way there. Last, but low-key most, like this is not least, this is the most important one. Number 5, be a scientist, not an auditor. What does that mean? When you think about an auditor, I don't know why the first one that comes to my mind is SpongeBob when the guy comes into like the food inspector guy. But anyway, someone who audits anything is someone who typically they have a checklist, they have a rubric where they're inspecting a certain thing to let you know whether there is a problem. It's typically pretty black and white. It's not this person who comes in as a consultant where they're gonna be like, oh, this is wrong. Here are all the different ways to fix it. Here's the strategy. Like this person just comes in and grades your restaurant, okay? They just tell you your food is safe, it's not safe. There are steps that you can take after that, but the auditor's job is not to give you nuance. The auditor's job is to tell you whether you are successful, whether you've passed the bare minimum test or whether you have failed. A lot of our internal narrators sound like auditors. It's like, oh, I got on the scale, I'm not where I want to be, I'm failing. Oh, I'm failing. And the worst part about an auditor is like when you're succeeding, it's like kind of like how Arab parents treat straight A's. It's not like, wow, amazing, you did so great. It's like, it's like the bare minimum. So when your internal narrator is an auditor, like mine used to be, even your successes don't feel like successes. They just feel like the bare minimum, and you're just so hard on yourself. I really think the key, like DJ Khaled key, to going from a super unnecessarily hard on yourself girl to a soft, lazy girl who's also lit and is attracting what she wants, is to go from having an auditor as your internal narrator to having a scientist as your internal narrator. So what does a scientist look like? When you think about a scientist in a lab, the one thing that makes them different from an auditor is that failures are in many ways even more valuable than successes, because a failure teaches you so much about what went wrong. You're able to control different variables next time because you have such important information about, oh shoot, I tried this approach with this video on TikTok and it didn't work. So instead of just saying like an auditor, oh, that flopped, ew, you're saying, oh, people didn't like that format, but let me try it a little bit differently. You're not giving up. Like every single input, every input is not just a grade or a yes or no or a black or white thing. There's nuance. You're able to really peel the layers back and understand like, wow, okay, I tried that. That didn't really work. What can I optimize next time? When you do succeed, you're like, oh wow, like that worked, amazing. But it doesn't stop there. Again, with an auditor, it's just like, okay, yeah, that was good. Keep doing that. With a scientist, it's like, oh, that must mean that it might be this or that. Like you still have things that you can learn from. Again, I'm gonna use the TikTok example because that's the world that I'm in. It's like, oh, I posted that video, things popped off. Okay, I'm not just gonna end it there and try to keep recreating that video. No, I'm gonna really read the comments and understand like, what was it that people liked? Did they like the format or did they like the topic? Was it both? Let me try the format with a different topic. Let me try the topic with a different format. Like it's so much fun when you're able to just like be a scientist about your life. My favorite part about it is there's no judgment. Think about the internal narrator as a scientist. Think about these mad scientists in their lab. They're not like getting hard on themselves when they're trying different things out. They're like so obsessed with the pursuit of the thing, whether they're trying to cure cancer or whether they're, you know, testing different hair products on animals, whatever it is, like their whole life is so colored by trying to solve this thing or solve this problem. And I don't mean that in like a self-development way. I mean that in like, there's just this mission that they're on. There's this purpose that they're on. And I want nothing more for you than for your internal narrator to color the process that you're on. Whether it's you trying to reach goals career-wise, whether it's your dating life, whatever it is, I want you to color your process through the lens of your failures are not failures. Like we say this all the time, but truly they're just like redirecting you to something else. And I think this one specifically helps to tie everything else together, because when you trust the process and you create that certainty that I know for a freaking fact I'm gonna get here, the little detours are not seen as detours. They're truly seen as redirections, because you know that every single step you take, none of them are steps backwards. Every single one of those things is valuable data to help you get to the place that you're going. But the best part is because you've injected yourself with that certainty, the process just becomes fun. It just becomes kind of this like escape room of life, I guess. I hate escape rooms. I don't even know why I'm using that one. But it's like, oh, like this is not the code. I'm gonna plug in the code if you've ever been in one. And it's like, oh, that's not it. But like you're just gathering all this data and it just becomes fun. Life can be fun. Goal setting and goal, getting can be fun. You don't have to chase after it in a way that makes it stressful. You don't have to chase it at all, because if you know that it's coming, it's a matter of just embodying and being the thing that's going to ultimately attract it. And if you are somebody that knows you're attracting it, then you don't have to stress, because it should just be fun. It should just be like, oh, one day, surprise, surprise, the thing is going to be here because I'm so focused on doing the things that would ensure that it comes to me. I really, really, really want you to step into that, because life is so beautiful right now. Like life is just meant to be lived and experienced right now, not when you get that thing. Because if you didn't enjoy it in the process, I promise you, you're not gonna enjoy it when you get it. Not only might you not get it, you might not get it. Because if you're not enjoying the process, you're causing so much friction between you and that thing. But even if you are miserable during the process and somehow are able to attain that thing, you're going to bring that misery and that stress and that anxiety into the thing that you think is going to solve those things. The last point I'll make here is that I love self-development, but it doesn't need to come at the expense of self. Like, that makes no sense. At that point, it's just development, and that's boring. Personal development, self-development should not take you out of character of who you actually are. It shouldn't be this thing that requires a completely non-existent version of you. It can be an evolved version of you. It can be a transformed version of you, but understand that understanding yourself and loving yourself and being gentle with yourself is a necessary and non-negotiable component to self-development. Let me know if you are down to try any of these. I love you so much, and as always, stay powerful, my loves.